Good day, everybody. Today we're talking about fans. You know, the thing that blows cool air in your face in the summertime. Well, it used to until I got central air, because I just happened to move into a place and I'm now spoiled rotten and don't really need to use as many fans anymore, because that's just how it rolls sometimes in life. I used to be a big fan of fans, though. But that's not the type of fan we're talking about today. We're talking about fan sites. And the word fan has had in my opinion, an unfortunate etymological change in the last few years. To the point where it's a little bit concerning, just a tiny bit. Like, why is it a fan site now is like alluded to as having some sort of titillating content of the adult kind. You know what I mean? It used to be back in the day when you were a fan of something, it's like, yeah, I really dig that thing in a platonic sense. But nowadays it seems that we have gone this way. And thus, we're going to talk about a site that has made a new rule about furries while having an icon that is literally two locks in the shape of a heart. Because that doesn't scream what they're going for a little bit as a site, which is weird to me. So this site's called Fansly. It is not OnlyFans, which is a different site, which has the same coloration in its branding, both have the word fan in it for whatever reason. But this Fansly thing is a different site entirely. No trademark infringement intended, as the old people on the internet would say when it comes to, no copyright infringement intended. You posted the whole movie! What do you mean no intended? Anyway, no trademark infringement intended. There's not even a fan in this thing. Don't worry about it. It's two locks with a heart shape. We're going for it, which kind of screams to me platonic. It screams to me a platonic relationship with your fans and not some sort of strange BDSM thing with like a heart shape with locks in it. No, you need to unlock that by paying them money, you see. Anyways, speaking of which, payment processors. So recently they made a bunch of different rules about different things. Interestingly, if you read the full rule thing, which I'll put a link in the description there where you can read the full update, like the screenshots of the different updates, there's about 4 of them. But obviously the one highlighting in this furry one is the anthropomorphic content situation. Yeah, so there was something about wrestling, there was something about mind control, there was something about a lot of different things. And to be fair enough, it's like it's their site and they want to do what they want. But on top of that, it's kind of funny. It's like they do kind of throw the shade at their payment processors. It's like, hey, we'd allow this content. It's just, our payment processors. Our payment processor partners classify some anthropomorphic content as simulated bestiality. As a general guideline, kimono mimi, I don't know if I pronounced that right. My apologies. Human-like characters with animal ears, so chemo for short usually, not to be confused with the therapy to prevent cancer, is permitted, but full personas, kimono mimi. Okay, I get it now. Now I know how to pronounce it because I saw the word that I'm familiar with. That's how you learn language. Kimono dragon. Kimono. So kimono mimi would be like monster, but not entirely, I guess. That's actually pretty cool. So kimono and scaly content are prohibited in adult contexts. So the interesting thing about this is that obviously, are prohibited in adult context. So it means no furry porn. Can I say that? No furry corn. Is that how they say it to prevent themselves getting nailed by the censors these days? Corn. I don't know why. It's a cob. He says this. He changes into a corn cob. But basically, no furry adult situation content. can be utilized on Fansly. Now, it's their site, and obviously it's their payment processors, so, and there's plenty of places that furries can go to, receive and exchange that kind of content. Most furries who probably watch this channel, such as myself, are like, what is a Fansly? Oh, it's like OnlyFans, only it's not OnlyFans, it's Fansly. So, like, obviously some furries are frustrated about, like, and like pointing out the silliness of it. But at the same time, it's like I don't know many furry content creators who are on that kind of thing. I think the Patreon crackdowns were probably a bit of a bigger issue. But these kind of crackdowns have become more and more common. And more often than not, the websites are actually pointing their fingers at the payment processors, so going, it was the payment processor that did this. And to the point where, if you look at like the history of it all and look at that, there's actually ACLU, who are basically, going after payment processors for their basically acting as sort of a pseudo government or a pseudo mommy daddy, like telling how they can spend their money, especially since like the payment processing is such an a ubiquitous form of payment these days that it basically has replaced money for most younger folks. So like paying with a card and paying with cash is sort of equivalent to each other, to the point where like money as a means of exchange is sort of seen as antiquated, because even if you were actually using your actual cash and not using credit, you would still be using like a debit card, which would have connections to your accounts that have cash in it. So here we see a sort of a thing that's been up for a while about MasterCard, talking about regulating content sellers and basically its impact on those who work in the more adult spaces. So a lot of furries who make adult content obviously would be impacted by things such as this, where payment processors try to step in and sort of act as a sort of regulator in that way. Now, some people would say with certain adult content, which moves into the border of criminality, of consents and like trafficking and things like that, obviously, a payment processor should be wary of stuff like that because of liability concerns, but also because it's the right thing to do. But at the same time, so like, where is that border and where's that line drawn? Obviously, when it comes to drawn works where people are just drawing characters on a thing, your payment processors can call it whatever they want to call it, but there's no animals actually being harmed in that kind of content, right? Unless somebody used something like that as an actual reference. There's no, like, it's simulated, right? So simulation is not, like, by its definition, a simulation is not reality. I'm not actually a kangaroo sitting behind an actual desk, but I am a human being playing a virtual space with a virtual roo at a virtual desk. This isn't real. I'm not real. Enjoy your existential crisis. Everything is fine. Everything is great. Everything is wonderful. Everything is going to be okay. Anyway, but yeah, simulation is not simulation is not simulation is not reality. So if the company is worried about like reality and real liabilities, by their own verbiage and by the verbiage of this, they are basically saying that it's not because they are concerned about real harm to real animals. They're concerned about simulated harm to alleged simulated harm to simulated animal characters that are presented by people, which is in an essence very, very silly. Very, very silly indeed. So at the end of the day, it just seems kind of weird. And obviously that highlighting of the power of payment processors in modern society is, in an interesting way, sort of part of the reason why certain elements of society have moved towards like, oh, you should move to crypto. And obviously, furries, as a general sort of a populist consensus in the furry fandom, is that that kind of payment also is very bad for other reasons, such as chasing greed, chasing the trying to chase the growth, and trying to give it help a thing that is not very environmentally friendly in the cases of like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I don't see furries, like, unless they get real, like, unless payment processors really, really, really start cracking down and start really like pushing, like, because right now it's mostly in theory, and also like main websites. Obviously, big websites are having to, change their terms of service to appease their payment processors. But like on an individual level, like it hasn't, there's it can impact things, but I don't think it's to the extreme yet where furries are looking for like like non-MasterCard, non-Visa processors to pay for their stuff. But if it does continue down that road, furries who work in those spaces could very well go, like, do I accept the devil who, forces me to not utilize their payment systems because they are trying to be a moral police over my artistic expression and the artistic desires of my clients? Or do I go with the devil of this, like, these sort of digital currency assets that have their own problematics and problems, some obviously dealing with in real life criminality and things like that, not usually related in the furry fandom, but obviously related in things such as the trafficking and stuff like that I mentioned earlier. So when you're talking about that, you could have a future where furries, if payment processors go after the furry fandom hard enough, where it's like, all right, we're going to lean into this other means of, doing this, even if it's more like, obviously, like, the thing is like, oh, it's not traceable, oh, you like, there's some sort of security. It's like, to me, it's like, no, usually digital wallets are more traceable, so that's not really an element to it. It would be more like, would that be serviceable, or would that be doable? And that it may be an interesting thing in the future, but that's speculation. Right now, all I know is that Fansly, whatever the heck that site is, you can no longer, can do your simulated bestiality. You can only you can only post videos like this where it's completely platonic, which is, there's a time and a place for everything, and not every site's going to be, allow for adult aspects of furry. And that, that's, as long as those lines are clearly drawn, you can be frustrated about it, but you can also work with it, because there's plenty of other places where you can post your furry cob. Okay. There's plenty of other places to go. And, yeah. I'm pretty sure most furries know where those things are, and this is sort of a furry news channel, so I won't go in. Like, you can post your own favorite one in the comment section, but obviously keep it cleanish. It's YouTube. Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you learned something today, and kick that like, kick the subscribe button, kick a comment in the comment section, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.